Great. Thank you very much. Good day. I think it is good afternoon and evening and even night for everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here today. I'm excited to share some insights into ancient Persian or Iranian supernatural creatures from Shahnameh. I'm grateful to Sam for creating this great opportunity with Romancing the Gothic and all of you for attending today. Before I start, I want to give you a kind of brief overview about myself. So my major is English literature, nothing to do with Persian literature, but being a kind of originally Iranian, while I was preparing a syllabus for world literature for one of my courses, I wanted to compare Homer's Iliad with a non-Western epic, and I figured out why not Shahnameh. So that's the beginning that I worked on Shahnameh. I'm not a scholar in Persian literature or Shahnameh, so this is a kind of overview of the book and the supernatural creatures in the beginning of Shahnameh. I'm not going to cover the whole book. So that's the origin story of this presentation. In this presentation, I will start by introducing you to the author, Ferdowsi, and then I will go through a kind of a very short summary of what is the book about, and then with the Pishtadian dynasty, and then I jump into the supernatural creatures that roam the world of Pishtadian dynasty, a kind of very beginning of like kingdom of Persia. So if you come across to any introductory text to Shahnameh, it might look like something like this. This is from the introduction to Shahnameh, translated by Dick Davis, the version I'm using as my primary source in this presentation. Dick Davis wrote that the Shahnameh is the national epic of Iran, or Persia as the country used to be called, composed by the poet Ferdowsi in the late 10th and early 11th century. So this is a book from the Middle Ages. Its subject matter is vast, being nothing less than the history of the country and its people from the creation of the world up to the Arab conquest, which brought the then new religion of Islam to Iran in the 17th century. So who was this Ferdowsi? There are no exact information or detail about his family, so these are just general information and speculations. But despite the lack of reliable information, there have been several speculations regarding his life. So first of all, Ferdowsi is his pen name, while his full name is believed to be Al-Amir al-Hakim al-Abul Qasim Mansur ibn al-Hasan al-Ferdowsi al-Tusi. So it's the big name, but it comes from who's the son of who, and from where the whole thing. As cited by Bondari, scholars agree that Ferdowsi was born in Tus, which is now part of modern-day Mashhad in Iran. They suggest that his birth year was about 940. He began writing his book, Shahnameh, between 975 or like 977, and he completed the first version of the epic poem in 994. But he didn't stop there. He continued refining and expanding on the work until he finished the final version in 1010. The exact year of Ferdowsi's death remains a matter of speculation. Some sources say he died in 1020, while others say it was in 1025. Regardless of the exact date, Ferdowsi's legacy continues to live on, and his work remains an essential part of Iranian culture. Ferdowsi came from a very rich Dehqan family who were dedicated to preserving traditional civilization, customs, and culture, including national legends. If you ask an Iranian what Dehqan means, they will say, of course, it is a farmer. However, this was not the case during Ferdowsi's time, and even it was the opposite of farmer. According to the Khoda dictionary, Dehqan refers to the Iranians who did not intermingle with Arabs and were the owners of property and land, whether in a village or in the city. These families accepted Islam 2 or 3 centuries after the 7th century Arab invasion, primarily to protect their social status. Unlike most newcomers, however, they did not renounce their forefathers' culture. Instead, they made it their life's mission to keep it alive and pass it on to future generations. Ferdowsi's character and the patriotic essence of his work were influenced by his class consciousness and the time in which his genius was nurtured. So in addition to transmitting ancient Iranian culture, customs, and literature to Islamic Persia, Ferdowsi also played a significant role in establishing Farsi or Persian as Iran's national language. As he writes in Shahnameh or his satire, he says, "Basi ranj bordam dar in salasi, ajam zende kardam bedin Farsi," which translates into, "Much I have suffered in these 30 years. I have revived the Ajam with my verse." 30 years here refers to all those years Ferdowsi spent creating and writing Shahnameh. And he says that he revived or even remade Iran through his verse, which is in Farsi. The scholars mainly used Arabic as a scholarly and court language after Islam in Iran. Ajam here means one who is illiterate in language, and Arabs call Persians Ajams as a form of condescension. Was Ferdowsi exaggerating by reviving Iran through his verse? I don't think so. Like, Persian language and culture owe a lot to his book and his writing. Following the Arab invasion, Iran faced the threat of losing its unique identity to Arabization in the name of Islamic community. However, Ferdowsi is widely credited with successfully preserving Iranian identity and safeguarding Persia's historical continuity and cultural identity. While others also contributed to this objective, Ferdowsi's efforts were instrumental. As a result, Persia's national and cultural heritage has been deeply influenced by his legacy. Now, you may ask why I'm listening to history of Iran. What is it to do with supernatural creatures and monsters? I have to say that understanding the history will shed some light on one of the main supernatural creatures in Shahnameh named Serhatti, the Demon King. Please bear with me for longer, just the history part will be over in a few minutes. The Arab invasion presented a profound shock to the Iranian civilization. Yet Persian culture, far from fading, demonstrated a remarkable resilience as it assimilated into other cultures, according to Davis, or as it is suggested, other cultures were assimilated into Iranian civilization. This resilience persisted during the Umayyad dynasty, dominating the Islamic world from 661 to 750. They showed little regard for Persian civilization and sensibilities. However, the second dynasty, the Abbasids, mark a turning point, displaying more sympathy for Persian civilization. Consequently, there was a general Persianization of the court culture during the Abbasid period, if not that of the Caliphate in general. This period witnessed a number of significant uprisings through Persia against the Abbasids, culminating in the rise of Samanids in the northeast, who ruled through the 10th century, as you see on the map. The Samanid dynasty, a beacon of cultural preservation, actively promoted an appreciation for ancient Iranian culture. They did so by commissioning translations and fostering an interest in the country's past. Significantly, the dynasty opted for Persian as its court language instead of Arabic, a decision that later proved crucial in developing Persian literature. This choice led to the flourishing of brilliant court poetry in Persian in Khorasan, the region under Samani's control where Ferdowsi is from. Ferdowsi crafted this book, likely influenced by the revival of Iranian nationalism during the Samanid era. His work stands as a testament to the power of literature in shaping national identity. Evidence suggests that he may have intended it as a tribute to the Samanid dynasty, only to witness its downfall at the hands of the Turkic Ghaznavids. I'm not going to talk about the Ghaznavid Empire, just focus on one of the sultans, one of the kings or sultans of this empire, which had very important role in Ferdowsi's life, named Sultan Muhammad. He is a prominent figure of the Ghaznavid dynasty, is often portrayed as a patron of literature. However, Brown's account reveals a more nuanced character, one who was both a supporter and a captor of literary figures, often treating them harshly. Among these men was Ferdowsi, who dedicated Shahnameh to Sultan Muhammad after the fall of the Samanids. In exchange for his work, Sultan Mahmud, my bad, had pledged to reward Ferdowsi with 60,000 dinars. Apparently, it is like gold coins. Yet when the time came, he only gave him 20,000 dirhams, I suppose it is in silver, a decision that deeply angered Ferdowsi. In a fit of frustration, Ferdowsi divided the king's gift between a beer seller and bath attendants after drinking some beer in the bathhouse. Fearing his life, Ferdowsi fled Ghazna and lived in exile for a long time. Sultan Mahmud later regretted his actions and sent Ferdowsi the promised amount, but it arrived on the day of his funeral. So the reason behind Sultan Mahmud's treatment of Ferdowsi are a subject of a speculation. One theory suggests that Mahmud, who was a devout Sunni, may have been displeased with Ferdowsi's Shiite beliefs, which were considered heretical in Islam. Another possibility is that as a Turk, Mahmud took offense to Shahnameh's portrayal of Turks as Iran's enemies. A far-fetched theory suggests Ferdowsi may have been a Zoroastrian in disguise. This is based on the observation that Shahnameh contains no Quranic or Muslim cosmology and chronology. Instead, Ferdowsi appears to have given prominence to Persian creation myths and Zoroastrianism. Furthermore, the poem portrays Zahak, a figure who is identified as an Arab, as the first evil person who brings disaster to Iran. The poem concludes with the defeat of the Sasanians and the triumph of the Arab armies, which is the repetition of what Zahak did during the mythological phase, proving the idea apparently that history repeats itself and never stops. So, what is this book about? That was the history part, but what the book says. So this book, Shahnameh, is a chronicle epic of monumental proportions, not only in terms of its size, but also in vast array of material it covers over a long period. As it is pointed out, depending on the edition, it can range in length from over 45,000 to 100,000 lines, a statement to its grandeur and importance. Generally, they go with the edition of like 50,000 lines. It covers the history of 4 dynasties, the Pishdadian, the Kianian, the Parthian or Ashkanian, and the Sasanian, and 50 kings from time of creation to the Arab invasion in the 7th century. I'm going to just focus on the first 5 of these kings. In addition to these kings, it features stories of heroes such as Rostam, acting as protector and guardian of the royal family, and Iran, and of course, Iranian people. Shahnameh's uniqueness lies in its division into 3 phases: myth, legend, and history. The mythological phase covers the Pishdadian dynasty, the legendary phase covers the Kianian and basically Rostam's story, and the historical phase covers Parthian and Sasanian. In this presentation, I focus only on the mythological phase and the Pishdadian dynasty with its like the first 5 kings and the supernatural creatures roaming this ancient world. So in order to just give you a hint on what is the location of the stories, as I talk is Persian literature and Shahnameh, this is the map of Iran according to Shahnameh. It is not the modern map of Iran. This is map of Iran according to Shahnameh. And in case you wonder where the stories take place, as it is written on the map in the bottom, some locations on it vaguely correspond to real places on the geographical plane of Iran and its bordering lands. So, who are these kings in Pishdadian dynasty? So this is a kind of genealogy of these kings, the first Pishdadian dynasty. This dynasty is a mythical lineage of primordial kings, the first Iranian dynasty. It is featured in Zoroastrian belief and Persian mythology, appearing in Avesta, the Zoroastrian scripture. However, Ferdowsi in his Shahnameh transformed these primordial kings into the canonical form, ruling over the world and Iran for almost 2,000 years. In this presentation, as I said, I focus on the first 5 kings and the supernatural creatures until the reign of Zahak. It is worth noting that Zahak did not belong to this dynasty, and he was simply the usurper of the Iranian dynasty, holding the throne for almost a millennium. So the first king, Kayumars. Kayumars, which means living mortal, holds a special place as the first king and primeval man in Iranian history and mythology. According to Encyclopedia Iranica, Ahura Mazda created him to help him in the battle against the evil spirit, which is Ahriman. We will hear a lot about him. Mars is sometimes linked with Adam in Abrahamic religions. According to Zoroastrianism, Mars existed as a spirit for 3,000 years before assuming a physical form as a handsome young man. Unfortunately, his life as a mortal was brief, lasting only 30 years, as he was poisoned by Ahriman, the evil spirit. Nonetheless, the seed he left behind sprouted into plants, symbolizing the progenitors of humanity. In Shahnameh, Mars is portrayed differently. He is more human-like than supernatural. He is still the first world king with Far. In Persian mythology and Zoroastrianism, Far is the supernatural radiance granted by Ahura Mazda to the kings, basically. However, he is now depicted as a prehistoric cave dweller who established the Pishtadian dynasty, established royal ceremonies, ruled over both men and beasts for 30 years, enforced law and justice, and taught men about the preparation of food and clothing. This portrayal of Mars as a wise and just leader adds a humanistic touch to a character otherwise depicted as a mythical entity. Mars had a son named Siamak, but Ahriman was jealous of him and sought to humble him. To do so, he sent his son, the Black Demon, who was said to be like a savage wolf, to attack the king. However, Siamak was warned of the plot by the angel Surush, and he prepared an army to fight against the Black Demon's forces. Sadly, Siamak was killed in battle, and Mars mourned his loss for a year until receiving a message again from the angel Surush, who urged him to gather an army together and fight against this malevolent demon. Hushang, Siamak's son, led an army of humans, fairies, and animals to battle the Black Demon's forces. Ultimately, they emerged victorious, with Hushang personally defeating and beheading the demon. With a vengeance finally achieved, Mars passed away, and Hushang ascended to the throne as the new king. Now we have the second king, Hushang. After defeating the Black Demon and mourning the loss of his king, Hushang becomes the king of Iran. He ruled for 40 prosperous years, during which he introduced advancements in metallurgy, architecture, husbandry, irrigation, and agriculture. By chance, he also discovered fire and established the Sadeh festivals. This happened when he encountered a long black dragon while exploring the mountains. Attempting to slay the dragon, he hurled a rock that missed its intended target and struck the rocky ground instead, causing a spark that ignited a flame. Voila, fire was discovered. Then we have Tahmuras, the third king, also known as the binder of demons. He had a monumental mission to cleanse the world of evil. To achieve this, he bound Ahriman, the evil spirit, with potent spells and used him as a mount to explore the world. This act of defiance sparked a fierce reaction from the demons, who banded together under the leadership of their Black Demon, not the first Black Demon, this is another demon, and voiced their protest. Yet Tahmuras, undaunted, subdued 2/3 of these demons with his spells and the remaining third with his formidable mace. The demons, in a stunning twist, begged for their lives and offered to impart their knowledge of the world's secrets, including nearly 30 different scripts and writing styles. So that's how writing apparently was discovered. This surrender of the demons, a testament to Tahmuras' might, marked a significant turning point in his reign. In addition to his linguistic mastery, Tahmuras is also celebrated for his role in inventing spinning, weaving wool, domesticating animals, and developing other invaluable inventions. Then, I think the most beloved king among all and the most fallen one, we have the fourth one, Jamshid, who is responsible for bringing order and civilization to the world, according to Manani. But Jamshid's overwhelming arrogance ultimately led to his downfall, paving the way for Zahak to unleash a 1,000-year reign of terror and inflict untold destruction upon the world. The Avesta contains a multitude of myths that revolve around Yima or Jamshid. These legends portray him as a ruler who governed the world during a prosperous era. He saved living creatures from a natural disaster by safeguarding species in his stronghold or cavern. This is similar to Noah and his ark, but the difference is that there was no flood, but ice age, 4 cold winters, one after another. Additionally, he possessed the greatest amount of fire among human beings, but sadly, he forfeited it along with his sovereignty due to his hubris. According to reports, he was cut, possibly in half, by a malevolent entity. So that was Jamshid in Avesta, but in Shahnameh, there's a little bit different. Jamshid had an extraordinary life, which can be clearly divided into two distinct parts: the period of his kingship and the period after he was overthrown. As stated in Shahnameh, he inherited the throne after his father, Tahmuras. Jamshid declared himself the king and priest and managed to achieve several impressive feats, such as inventing weapons and armor, weaving and tailoring, establishing different classes and professions of society. So the whole class system in the society comes from him, according to Persian mythology. Instructing demons to make bricks and buildings, mining precious stones, establishing the use of aromatics, again, perfume, we all in the perfumes of the whole thing, teaching medicine, building ships, and crossing the waters into other 7 realms, and I suppose it is like other continents, and even creating a magnificent throne that was carried in the air by demons. This happens, these like demons taking the throne to the sky, to the air, happened on the very first day of the spring vernal equinox, establishing the festival of New Year, Nowruz in Iran, that people are still celebrating as the beginning of the year in Persian calendar. He ruled peacefully for 3 centuries or more, during which his subjects did not fall sick or die. So, as we talked, the problem of overpopulation in a limited land we have. He solved that too. However, Jamshid's downfall begins when he grows arrogant and claims to be divine, alienating his people. Jamshid's fatal pride on full display when his demonic servant lifts his throne to the heavens is a stark warning about the dangers of cooperating with demons, but the fact that such cooperation exists is a sign that the dividing line between humanity and the demonic has begun to be erased. As a result, he lost his royal status and his kingdom fell into chaos. In the middle of this chaos, the people of Iran turned to Zahak, a powerful Arab leader, and invite him to take over Jamshid's throne. Zahak, with the help of his army, consisting of both Arabs and Persians, launches an attack on Jamshid's capital. Unable to withstand the attack, Jamshid flees and disappears for 100 years. Eventually, Zahak apprehends Jamshid and orders his body to be sawn in half, which is often interpreted as a symbolic representation of castration, according to Omid Salar. So there's also a reason that we have this graphic way of killing. In case you are interested, I will explain during Q&A. So then we come to the Demon King. Zahak, a malevolent creature in Persian mythology, is a fascinating figure with complex characteristics. According to Zoroastrian belief, he is named Ajidahak. The offspring of Ahriman is depicted as a beast with 3 heads, 3 mouths, and 6 eyes. This notorious creature is known for its cunning and strength, yet it also exhibits human-like traits defying its animalistic form. But in Shahnameh, Zahak is initially an Arab prince known as Bivarasp and later transforms into the malevolent demon king Zahak with snake-like shoulders. He is the offspring of Merdas, not Ahriman in Shahnameh. Merdas is a pious Arab king, and despite Bivarasp or Zahak's temperament and arrogance, his character does not seem entirely evil at the beginning. But until Eblis comes into the picture. So Eblis, as in the form of devil, Satan, you call, is in the form of a friendly well-wisher, tempts Bivarasp to commit patricide, a deed that, initially troubles the prince. However, Zahak does not commit this personally, as Eblis takes care of it. He says just okay, and Eblis just kills their father. Even after assuming the throne, Eblis persists in his temptations and demonic behavior, returning to entice Zahak by appearing as a cook and tempting him with meat in order to feed Zahak on blood to build up his valor. This is significant because people primarily consumed vegetation in Persian mythology and Zoroastrianism, making meat eating a form of transgression for Zahak. Impressed by the delicious meal, Zahak grants the cook a favor, and Iblis cunningly asks for a kiss on Zahak's shoulders. An irreversible transformation. Iblis reappears again as a physician and advises him to feed two young men's brains to the snakes, as there is no other way to calm them. So from meat eating, he turns into a cannibal, brain eating demon king. This act aligns with Ahriman's objective to eliminate humanity, emphasizing the culmination of Zahak's demonification, as he now resembles Avesta's or Zoroastrian Ajidahak. At this moment of Zahak's metamorphosis into a demon king, Jamshid's downfall is brought about by his own hubris, as we talked, leading to the forfeiture of his divine right to rule. Zahak seizes the opportunity, portraying himself as a savior to the discontented Iranians seeking a new leader. He proceeds to launch an assault on Iran, infamously splitting Jamshid in two and commencing a reign of terror for 1,000 years. During Zahak's reign, the wise, quoting from the book, the wise concealed themselves and their deeds, and the devils achieved their heart's desire. Virtue was despised, and magic applauded. Justice hid itself away while evil flourished. Demons rejoiced in their wickedness, while goodness was spoken of only in secret. End of quote. Therefore, this era symbolizes the significant rise of demons who serve Zahak and are integrated into his army. The symbolism of the snakes represents the intersection of human and demonic qualities within the character of Zahak. Furthermore, these snakes breach the gap between two distinct interpretations of demonic in Shahnameh. The first one, the Islamic portrayal of demonic as a force of temptation in Eblis, and second one, the Zoroastrian understanding of demonic as physical destruction and Ahriman, the evil spirit. The fusion of these concepts reflects Ferdowsi's intricate position as a chronicle of pre-Islamic myths and history with a Persianate context that had been profoundly transformed by the advent of Islam, impacting political, religious, social, and even linguistic realities. Following the spread of Islam in Persia, Iranians generally equated Iblis with Ahriman, and the presence of both entities in Shahnameh indicates this shift. However, it's noteworthy that Iblis' introduction in the poem coincides with the first explicit instance of a demonic figure tempting a character to commit evil, as if like Ahriman and evil are separate things, and this Iblis is like what is like brings destruction to the world, which is Iran of that period. So I'm not going to continue with the story of what happens to Zahak and how he loses the power after 1,000 years by Feridun, the next king. So during the reign of these five kings, we have different forms of supernatural creatures. Generally, there are no detailed descriptions of other supernatural creatures except for Zahak as the demon king and Iblis. And some of them are just mentioned in one or two words, like there were fairies, they were sorcerers, no explanation of their appearance or even what they do. So within the supernatural creatures, I will begin by discussing one deity, then Ahriman, the demon of the demons, and then move to the demons and different form of supernatural creatures, but I don't repeat myself on Demon King as we discussed it. So the first supernatural creature is Surush. Surush holds a significant place in Zoroastrianism as a major deity. Later on, in the Iranian version of Islam, he is transformed into the angel Surush, functioning both as an abstraction and an individual. According to Melandra, Surush serves as the guardian and protector of the world and mankind from demonic forces. He is also known as the antagonist of wrath, anger. Although Ferdowsi's Shahnameh glorifies pre-Islamic Iran, he rarely mentions Zoroastrian gods or deities by their real names, except for Surush. However, to avoid upsetting Islamic monotheism, Ferdowsi refers to Surush as an angel, not a god or deity. Surush appears in several parts of Shahnameh, particularly during the battles between good and evil, to warn, protect, or support the heroic figures against Ahriman and demons. Unlike Greek gods or goddesses, this Zoroastrian deity rarely interferes in the battles in person, except for once when he materializes in the battle and saves a king. In the mythological phase of Shahnameh, his appearance is limited to two stories, Kayumars, as we heard, and then Feridun. Despite Ahriman's and demons' ever-presence in Shahnameh, as I said, there are a few cases in which some of the Zoroastrian deities reveal themselves to men in the book. One example is when the angel Surush appeared before Siamak in the guise of a magical being swathed in a leopard skin and told him of the plots against his father. As mentioned before, with Siamak's death, Kayumars mourned for a year until the glorious Surush appeared for the second time and brought a message from God saying, Kayumars, weep no more, but be of sound mind, gather an army together and fight against this malevolent demon. Within this tale, the deity's presence serves as a means of cautioning humankind about the impending peril posed by other supernatural entities such as Ahriman and demons. The deity demands that humans engage in combat against these supernatural beings in order to avenge and safeguard the earth from their destructive influence. This particular function resembles Surush's role as the protector and defender of both the world and humanity against these evil supernatural forces. Surush appears for the third time in Shahnameh in Feridun's story. He intervenes when Feridun attempts to kill Zahak, the demon king, and instructs him to refrain from doing so. We will not get into this part of the story, but if interested, ask me what happened. Then Ahriman, the main character, who starts all this evil and destruction in the world. According to Laurie Pierce, the demonic plays an integral role in Shahnameh, manifesting itself in countless forms. The epic portrays these demons and adversaries of the Pishtadian kings and heroes. They appear not only in physical form, but also as immaterial forces of temptation, distraction, and fate. The demons' role in the Shahnameh vary, ranging from that of folk villains to major forces of destruction, or even as disembodied representations of evil. I can say that Zahak, a demon king, who subjugates Iran for a millennium, is a primary example of all these demonic functions in the poem. In Shahnameh, the main demon is Ahriman. Although Ahriman is mentioned several times in the first phase of the poem, he only appears as an individual in the poem when in conflict with Kayumars and Tahmuras. In all other instances, his demonic creatures or offspring fight against the Pishtadian kings and heroes, and even sometimes serve these kings during their subjugation and imprisonment. Later, even Ahriman becomes either an abstract concept or referred to the other with capital O in terms of race or enemy. In Persian mythology, Ahriman, also known as Angramainu, is the principle of evil and the destructive force. This destructive force is the antithesis of Sapanjamainu, the Holy Spirit, and Ahura Mazda, the Vice Lord. These two spirits explain the primeval choice, a great trauma dominating the life of man and the destiny of the world. They also explain the existence of evil, a fact of life, as a consequence of free choice. What is the story of these two conflicting forces? Ahura Mazda sought to create a terrestrial paradise in Persia, but Ahriman thwarted his plan by introducing darkness, disease, and death into this world. Most importantly, Ahriman created Ajidahaka or Zahak in Shahnameh to bring ruin to the earth, as we have seen that by feeding the brain of two young men to snakes. Basically depopulates the earth. Like 2 men a day like the consequences can be like very devastating for the population. Later, during the Sasanians, Zoroastrianism a kind of like subsect, a sect from Zoroastrianism, but they considered it heretical, attempted to soften this dualism by postulating that Ahura Mazda and Ahriman actually were both the offspring of Zurwan, the god of time or something, a single pre-existing primeval being. According to Zoroastrianism, at the beginning of the things, Zurwan spent 1,000 years making offerings to get a progeny. However, he began to doubt himself during those offerings. From this doubt, Ahriman was born. Zurwan also promised to give the kingdom of the universe to his firstborn, a very bad choice because Ahriman heard this first, ripped the womb open first to claim the title, and he is a just person, fair. So as he promised, Zurwan gave the kingdom to Ahriman, but only for 9,000 years before transforming it to Ahura Mazda. Regardless of the variations in these narratives, Ahriman's sole objective is to destroy Ahura Mazda's creations, especially human beings, as evidenced by the rivalry between Ahriman and the first king in Shahnameh and then Eblis and in the Demon King. In the battles recounted by the first kings against Ahriman and his demons, a stark confrontation occurs between opposing forces. Banani notes that evil is personified as a force entirely separate from humanity. The absolute dichotomy between good and evil is vividly depicted in the stark contrast between the fair-skinned Siamak and the pitch-black demon. There is no room here for contemplating shades of gray. It is black and white, no gray area. In Zahak's story, Eblis is an Islamic creature similar to Ahriman, as we talked. Arabs introduced new types of demons into Persian culture, and this Eblis is actually adapted from the Christian Diabolis. It refers to evil spirits and is sometimes named Satan or jinns. They are famous for being shapeshifters, as we see Eblis in Zahak's story turning into an advisor, then a cook, and then a doctor. So Ahriman was the demon of the demons, like king of the kings, but he had offsprings, and we have other supernatural creatures. So we have Deevs, or Deevs in Farsi, which means demons. In Persian folklore and literary traditions, there has been a confusion between Deev, Ghul, and Jinn. Originally, Deev refers to demons, monsters, fiends. However, it has also later been used to refer to ogres, giants, and even Satan. Then after Islam, the demon transformed into jinn. This confusion can be observed in Shahnameh, where not only every demon, but also Iblis is sometimes referred to as Deev instead of Ahriman. Moreover, the demon also refers to the other with capital O, people from different races or ethnic backgrounds other than Aryans or Persians, as it is the case with the inhabitants of Mazandaran, which is a location still in Iran, modern Iran. Throughout history, demons have been depicted as entities that exist independently from and separate from humans. However, they have also been used as a metaphor for those who embody evil characteristics. Typically, demons are depicted as black creatures with long teeth, black lips, blue eyes, claws, and large hairy bodies. They are known to consume humans. Some have multiple heads, monstrous ears, or teeth. These supernatural beings inhabit a land known as Mazandaran, as I said, where they have a king, armies, demon generals, cities, fortresses, farms, herds, and their own language. They engage in battle using great stones, sticks, or other primitive weapons, but occasionally appear as armored warriors with weapons and armies. One of their unique characteristics is their tendency to oppose what is asked of them. So if there is a part in the story that it's like it says, throw me over here, it means like throw me over there. So whatever you say, he says, it means the opposite, or he asks you, it is the opposite. Demons can shapeshift and transform into other beings, such as people, dragons, or animals. As supernatural beings, they sometimes use magic to defeat their opponents. When defeated by a king or hero, demons would often serve as their slave and teach them valuable skills such as writing or serve as great builders. Right after Ahriman is the black demon, his cherished offspring and a demon resembling a wolf. As previously mentioned, the black demon murders Siamak but defeated by Hushang. Then there is Gavshid dragon, whom Ahriman dispatched to avenge his son's demise, the black demon. Gavshid is a long black serpent or dragon coating with eyes like valves of blood fixed on its head and smoke pouring out of its mouth, engulfing the world in darkness. This is the first unintentional benefit of the presence of a demon or dragon in Shahnameh, as it led Hushang to discover fire, as we talked. So, despite the widespread presence of demons among humankind in Shahnameh, they were initially enslaved by Tahmuras as the binder of demons and later by Jamshid. Under these kings' rule, mankind experienced a period of freedom from evil, disease, and even death, with demons contributing significantly to the advancement of civilizations. It is worth noting that Tahmuras and Jamshid used magic and spells to dominate the demons. Generally, magic and spells are negative forces used by demons. However, as we know how the double standard works, if magic is used by a virtuous king for good, there's no problem, as we see how Tahmuras and Jamshid and even later other Persian kings or heroes use magic to defeat their enemies. I suppose that's why we have the black magic and white magic. Conversely, there is Zahak, a magician himself, who employed magic to establish his rule as a king and even instructed his queens, Arnavaz and Shahnavaz, who were also Jamshid's daughter, captured during his downfall, in the art of magic. The opening of Shahnameh also features a plethora of supernatural creatures, even Joe mentioned briefly just the name. There's fairies, there's sorcerers or something. They include fairies, sorcerers, and magicians. Fairies serve in Hushang's army and under the authority of Jamshid. Originally, fairies are a class of female demonic beings in the Avesta and often translated as sorcerers, witches, or enchanters. However, during the modern Iranian era, these demonic figures transformed into beautiful creatures, like named Peri, fairy, nymph, angel, and often appeared alongside the less benign jinns. According to Christensen, Ferdowsi always portrays fairies as charming and pleasant figures. The presence of sorcerers, referred to as Afsungar in Farsi, pose a considerable threat as they engage in battles against Tahmuras. However, Tahmuras ultimately prevails over them through the application of magic and spells. It is worth noting that magicians also hold significant roles as advisors to Zahak. So these are the list of the supernatural creatures appearing during these 5 kings' reign. So in conclusion, when summarizing the attributes and roles of supernatural beings in Shahnameh, it is noteworthy that Ahriman is portrayed as a tangible entity at the beginning of the epic. However, his character evolves into Eblis, Zahak the Demon King, and ultimately becomes a symbolic representation of evil, malevolence. This transformation highlights the dynamic nature of these supernatural creatures, as they not only serve as folk villains and significant agents of destruction, embodying evil in an abstract form, but also undergo changes in their physical and conceptual essence. The opening of Shahnameh presents Ahriman and demons with human-like attributes, including reproduction, military organization, desire for power, civilization even surpassing that of humans, and the capacity to rule the universe. Initially, a clear distinction between humankind and demons is evident. However, as the stories of Siamak, Hushang, Tahmuras, and Jamshid unfold, the struggle between demons and humankind takes center stage. The lives and fates of these kings become intertwined with their ability to overcome demonic forces. The conflict between the armies of Kaimars and those of Ahriman is initially portrayed as a battle between good and evil, as I said. But as subsequent kings' stories unfold, a more intricate picture of human-demon interaction emerges. This complexity is further evident when demons are slaved and served Tahmuras and Jamshid, blurring the line between these two entities. Subsequently, the transformation of the Arab prince into the snake-shouldered demon king Zahak represents a significant shift, completely blurring the distinction between the human and the demonic. Zahak's duality manifests in various ways, with his human-demon fusion being particularly relevant to this discussion. According to Pierce, as an Avestan mythical figure who is tempted by the Islamic Eblis, Zahak not only unsettles our conceptions of what it means to be human and also maybe Iranian, he also embodies the formative trauma of Ferdowsi's age, the cultural transformation from a pre-Islamic Persian past to an Arab and Arabic-dominated Islamic present. So thank you very much. I hope you find it helpful.